Hello, this is Olivia, and welcome to my channel, Justice in Her Hands, with a new original story. Let's begin. The night the monitors stopped beeping and the nurse wheeled me to discharge, I promised myself one thing: no more begging for respect in my own family. The pain sat low and heavy in my ribs, like a wet book, and every step out of the hospital smelled like antiseptic and old lemon. I clutched my bag with the pill bottles and the folder labeled in my handwriting, nothing dramatic, documents. Inside, the sale papers. 10 million wired. Clean. Quiet. Mine. I know. Keeping a secret like that at my age? But I did. Because love shouldn't need dollar signs to stand up straight. At home, the house felt too loud with its old wood and its honest creaks. I made tea I could barely taste and sat near the window, breathing through the soreness while my phone buzzed with messages from Connor. "How are you?" "You sleeping?" "We'll swing by." Sweet, but brisk. Brianna texted too. Little check marks, little hearts. Too many instructions about hydration for a woman who raised him through flu seasons and mortgage rates. I told them I was fine. Mostly true. My hands still trembled when I tried to button a blouse, but that was between me and the mirror. On the second morning, the doorbell went off like a fire alarm. I was halfway down the hall when the sound of a diesel engine drifted through, that chugging push-pull you feel in your chest before you hear it. Then the squeak of brakes and men's voices, quick and efficient. My neighbor, Lydia Shaw, a retired school counselor who never misses anything, called from her porch, "You expecting movers, Evie?" The nickname softened the air. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the door, Connor stepped in with a smile that stayed on his teeth and not his eyes. He hugged me too hard and patted my back like I was a colleague, not his mother. Brianna followed. Hair perfect, let me tell you, and trailing a woman with a briefcase and a little square stamp. The notary gave me that professional, detached look, like I was a form to be completed, not a person with a pulse that still misfired when I climbed stairs. "Mom," Connor said, already walking toward the dining table, "we took care of everything so you can rest." He fanned out papers that smelled like clean toner, edges sharp enough to slice my patience. The words temporary care, safety, and household management flashed at me in black. My stomach, still tender, pulled tight. "It's just while you recover," Brianna added, voice soft, hands soft, eyes not soft at all. "We'll handle the bills, the mail, the house." Her finger tapped a line with my name and a space for a signature. Outside, a man hammered something into the winter-killed grass. Lydia gasped. The sound through the glass was thin, but unmistakable. Metal biting dirt. I turned, heart going high and hot in my throat, and saw a post tilt toward my lawn like a warning finger. The notary slid a pen across the table. "Initial here," she said. The diesel idled. The tea in my cup had gone cold. I hated lying to my child. I also hated being managed like a patient on a conveyor belt. I set my palm on the table, feeling the grain, the old nicks made by school projects and Thanksgiving platters, and I looked at my son, my one and only, and asked, very quietly, "What did you do?" Connor didn't blink. "Mom, we listed the house. You'll be safer with us. This is just to make it smooth." He turned the page to the signature line, and for a moment all I could hear was the little square stamp clicking open and the faraway knock, knock, knock of a sign going into my lawn. I reached for the pen. Then I stopped. "Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and comment where you're watching from." The pen felt too smooth, too light, like a toy that could still hurt you if you tripped on it. My ribs throbbed with that deep, bruised ache that makes you breathe shallow. I don't sign without reading, I said, and my voice came out steady, which surprised me. Brianna exchanged that quick marital glance with Connor, the private conference that happens in a blink, then pasted on sympathy. Of course, she said, sliding the top page toward me with manicured patience. The notary flicked her stamp open and shut, a plastic cough. I only notarize if the signer appears willing, she added, neutral as a courthouse wall. I stood, and the room tilted the way a ferry tilts when a truck boards. The diesel outside rumbled against the window panes. I needed air more than permission. I walked to the door, palms damp, shoulder burning from the simple act of moving. The cold hit my face like a clean cloth. A man in a reflective vest straightened the post in my yard, then bolted a sign to it. Coming soon, Hobbs and Vale Realty. By appointment only. The letters were bold, confident, like they weren't talking about my life at all. Who ordered that? I asked him. My voice sounded like someone else's, thin but sharp. He shrugged, friendly and useless. Office sent it, ma'am. Agent said the family wanted to get ahead of the timeline. Open house plan for Sunday if all goes smooth. Sunday, 2 days. My knees went soft. Lydia, my neighbor, was half over the property line already, coat thrown over pajamas, phone raised. Smile for the record, she told the man, and he actually did. She snapped pictures of the sign, the truck, the vest, the little barcode sticker that always ends up on the post like a fingerprint. Practical help disguised as nosiness. God bless her. Back inside, Brianna had organized the papers in colored stacks like I was an intake folder. It's standard, Evelyn, she said, all silk voice over steel frame. Just a limited power of attorney so we can manage utilities, medical calls, insurance. I ran my finger under a dense paragraph. Durable, not limited. The word sat there like a snake sunning on concrete. You knew I'd read it, I said. Connor exhaled through his nose, the way he did as a boy when I told him no candy before dinner. I remembered that little face, stubborn and lovely, and it almost broke me. Almost. Mom, we're trying to help, he said. The house is too much. Stairs, leaks. You just scared us half to death. His voice cracked on death, and for a breath, the room was just us. No papers, no diesel, no notary. Love, messy and real, pulsed under the surface. Then Brianna's phone chirped, and she glanced down, and the moment snapped like a dry twig. Let's make a call, I said. Lydia, would you come in for a minute? Brianna blinked. She'd forgotten the audience, and Lydia swept in like a one-woman sunshine committee, dropping her voice to a concerned hush. Got photos. Got timestamps, she murmured near my ear. The notary's eyebrows lifted a fraction. People behave differently when there's a witness. That's just human nature. I picked up my phone and scrolled to Paula Benton, my attorney. My thumb hovered. If I called, the secret of the sale might leak, and once money enters a conversation, it changes every word that comes after. My chest tightened, not from fear, but from the knowledge that this was a hinge moment. I could keep playing the grateful patient, or I could be the woman who ran trucks across 5 states through blizzards and strikes and Christmas shortages. That woman knew how to hold a line. I'm not signing today, I said. A small sentence. It clicked into the room like a new gear. Connor flushed. You're being stubborn. Brianna's mouth thinned. Evelyn, there's an open house on Sunday. If we don't streamline, it will get messy. I smiled in a way I didn't feel. Then it will get messy. The notary closed her stamp. If the signer declines, I'm done here, she said, gathering her things. Her neutrality became a tiny raft in choppy water. Connor raked a hand through his hair. "We'll reschedule," he said, which was not the same as "we were wrong." He stacked the papers with tight, angry precision. Brianna slipped one page to the bottom so quickly I almost missed it. I did not miss it. I snapped my own photo of every page still on the table, flash off, angle flat. The camera shutter made that soft, fake click, barely there, and still Brianna's eyes flicked up. We both knew what I'd just done. "Before you go," I said, "who signed the listing agreement?" A beat. "We coordinated," Brianna said, not answering. Connor tried to soften. "Mom, we can't keep doing everything last minute." I looked at the pen again. It lay where I'd left it, harmless as a stick, still dangerous if you step wrong. I walked them to the door. The diesel finally cut off, leaving a sudden winter quiet that rang in my ears. Lydia squeezed my arm once, solid and warm, then turned to the notary. "You saw that she declined, yes?" The notary nodded. "Records matter." When the house was mine again, I locked the deadbolt and let my forehead rest against the cool door. The paint smelled faintly of pine cleaner. My heart slowed. I dialed Paula. When she answered, I kept my voice even. "I think my house has been listed without my consent," I said. "I need to know what they filed, and I need you to move fast." I did not mention the 10 million. Not yet. The secret sat in my chest like a banked coal, warm and waiting. Paula called back before my tea reheated. Her voice clipped the way it gets when she smells smoke. "I demanded the listing file," she said. "They sent a copy within minutes. Someone signed your name electronically with a scrawl that looks like a tired river. There's also a cover email claiming guardian authority. No court papers attached." A cold prickle moved along my scalp. I pictured my name dragged across a screen by a stranger's hand. Not my stroke. Not my breath. "I've issued a cease and desist," she went on. "Brokerage is on notice to pull the sign, cancel any showings, and preserve their internet logs. If anyone sets foot on your porch to stage, you call me and, if needed, the sheriff." The phone buzzed before we hung up. Brianna. "Heads up. Stagers at 10 in the morning. They'll pack fragile items for safety." That last word again. Safety. It rolled around my mouth like a bitter seed. I typed slowly. Every letter a small refusal. "Do not send anyone. Entry is not authorized." I set the phone face down and felt my hands shake anyway. When you've spent a lifetime saying yes to keep the peace, the first clean no makes your bones ring. Lydia knocked once and let herself in with a casserole she swears she just happened to have. The dish was hot and heavy, the scent of butter and onions filling the hall like memory. She set it down and examined my face. "You're pale," she said, "but steady." She tugged my coat from the hook. "We're going out." I started to protest. Ribs, fatigue, pride. But she was already wrapping a scarf around my neck with the brisk kindness of a school nurse. "Two stops," she said. "Doctor and the Glass Palace." The clinic smelled like disinfectant and peppermint gum. Dr. Alana Price has hands that read a person the way a Braille reader finds a story. Light, thorough, respectful. She asked straight questions, and I answered straight, hearing my own voice land with weight. What day it was, what medications I took, the name of the governor and my widowed status, and the way Connor's eyes had looked when he set those papers down. She made notes, then met my gaze without flinching. "I'm documenting full capacity," she said, "and your recent hospitalization, and your current stability. I'll send it today." Relief slid across my chest like warm water. Paper shields matter when storms pick up. From the clinic, we drove to Hobbs and Vale. Glass walls, succulent plants, a long desk with a bowl of wrapped mints that tasted like chalk. Agents in black coats moved through the lobby like polite schools of fish. The receptionist smiled the wide smile of the perpetually watched. Lydia announced me in that clear voice of hers that can pin a teenager to a chair from across a cafeteria. Owner of the Hart property is here to see the broker. A woman with a severe haircut and a softer sweater appeared. Dana Vale, she said, holding out a hand with a ring that could have paid a month's mortgage back when mortgages were a mountain. Her eyes measured me, then landed on Lydia's phone, already recording. "We received counsel's letter," she said, and for a second, something like conscience flickered. "The sign will come down." "Show me the authorization you relied on," I said. My ribs buzzed with adrenaline. She hesitated, then led us to a glass box of an office. A printer hummed. She slid a thin stack across the desk. There was my name, wobbly and wide, followed by a line that read, "Attorney in fact, Connor Hart." No attached court order, no notarized power of attorney. Just a bold little sentence someone hoped no one would press on. The cover email listed a callback number I knew by heart, my son's, and a second contact that I did not recognize. Brianna's office line glinted on the page like a shard. "Ms. Vale," I said, the title tasting new and right. "You have no legal authority to market my house. You will send written confirmation to my attorney that all marketing is withdrawn, all logs preserved, and every vendor notified to stand down. If a stranger touches my doorknob this weekend, I will treat it as trespass and report accordingly." I kept my voice low, low and steady, and mine. She nodded once, the smallest bow to a reality she couldn't spin. On the way out, we passed a corkboard pinned with glossy flyers. Open houses, coming soons, a map with stickers. There, in tiny print on a work order someone had left on the counter, I caught it. "Lock box install scheduled, Saturday morning." Lydia took the photo before I even pointed. "Got it," she whispered. The lobby seemed to tilt for a heartbeat, and I pressed my palm against the cool glass. I was not just protecting a house. I was protecting the part of me that had built something from nothing, and never once asked permission to be capable. In the car, Lydia drove while I drafted a short message to the neighborhood list. Not drama, just truth. "Please note, the coming soon sign at my address was placed without my consent. There are no showings authorized. Thank you for respecting privacy." Within minutes, a trickle of replies came back. Concern, confusion, a few nosy questions. Public consequences begin with whispers. They can end in reputations. I had lived long enough to know that silence is a story too, and sometimes it tells the wrong one. Before dawn, the house held that fragile kind of quiet that sounds like it could crack. I printed Paula's letter and Dr. Price's note, taped both to the inside of the glass at eye level, and then taped a third paper to the door, the tape squeaking as it stretched. No entry. My hands shook, but the letters didn't. I brewed coffee I barely tasted, bitter and burnt, and stood in the foyer listening to the blood in my ears. When the doorbell finally went off, it felt like a hammer on a rail. Two women in black fleece vests stood on my step with plastic bins and bright smiles. "Morning. We're here to pre-pack breakables," one chirped, already leaning in her weight like hospitality was a lever you could push. Behind them, a van idled, exhaust a white ribbon in the cold. "Read the notices," I said. My ribs flared with that blunt ache when I squared my shoulders. The lead woman glanced at the paper, then did the polite shrug contractors do when they think you're not the decision-maker. "We have a work order," she said. "Family gave approval." Not the family who owns this house. I answered, and stepped forward so my body, not my paper, said no. Lydia moved into my peripheral vision like a seasoned usher, phone held steady. "You're on camera," she said, pleasant as pie. The woman's smile slipped. I called Paula on speaker, and then, because it was faster than arguing definitions on a porch, I called the non-emergency line. When the cruiser rolled to the curb, the sound of the engine cut through the street and curtains lifted in 3 different windows. Public. Just like that. The deputy listened, read the taped letters, looked at the work order, and finally told the stagers to leave. He was kind without being soft. "Ma'am," he said to me, "if anyone comes back, call us. Keep these notices up." The van backed away, the driver avoiding my eyes. It should have felt like a victory. It felt like a warning that had learned to walk. Inside, my phone buzzed with messages. Neighbors, the HOA, a woman down the block offering her college son to help move you safely. That word again, wrapped in good intentions and control. I thanked her and put the phone face down. The house smelled like cold tape and coffee. My heartbeat finally slowed. Paula called. "I have worse and better," she said. Worse. Connor and Brianna filed an emergency guardianship petition this morning, claiming you're unsafe, prone to confusion, and financially at risk. They attached photos of the hospital wristband and a printout of your staircase with the caption, "Hazard. Hearing is Monday at 9 o'clock. The back of my neck went hot. "Better?" I asked. "Better. Dr. Price's letter is gold, and the brokerage sent written confirmation they withdrew everything and preserved logs. The deputy's incident number helps. We'll file our response today and ask the court to sanction any misrepresentations." I sat on the bottom stair, careful of my side, and stared at the banister Connor used to slide down as a boy when I wasn't looking. A memory rose. His feet thumping, his laugh wild and bright, and it nearly undid me. Love and anger make a strange stew. "Do we tell them about the company sale?" I asked. The question tasted like pennies. Paula paused. "Not yet. We disclose assets to the court as needed, but we do it on our terms. With context. You are not a ward. You are a client with rights." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. "Then we prepare," I said. "We prepare like it's a winter storm and the plows are late." Lydia set a legal pad in my lap and a pen in my hand like she'd been waiting for the order. We listed witness names, timelines, the notary's refusal, the sign installer, Dana Vale's letter, the deputy's report. I added one more line I hadn't wanted to write. Update my estate plan, reposition funds, remove Connor from anything he can touch. It felt like sawing off a branch you once trusted to hold you. Necessary. Ugly. By afternoon, I had a small sign on the porch camera and a simple script to repeat if anyone rang. "No entry is authorized. Please contact my attorney." Saying it out loud hardened something inside me. I called Connor and left a message inviting him and Brianna to a meeting at Paula's office. Witnesses present. No more hallway ambushes. No more surprise notaries. If they wanted to play official, they could do it in an actual office with an actual record. As the sun slid down, the house settled, wood ticking in the heat, the air smelling faintly of onions from Lydia's casserole. I thought about the woman I've been, polite, accommodating, grateful for scraps of consideration, and the woman I was becoming, the one who can sit still with a shaking hand and still sign her own name. Monday would come, and when it did, I would walk in on my own feet. Paula's conference room was cool and deliberate, a square of glass and brushed steel that made every movement feel recorded even before the red light blinked on. She set a small recorder between us, its tiny screen glowing like an honest eye. Lydia took the chair at my left. Pen uncapped, the smell of her citrus hand lotion soft under the colder sense of toner and coffee. My ribs were a dull drumbeat under my blouse. When Connor and Brianna walked in, the air thinned, as if someone had opened a freezer and asked us to smile inside it. "Ground rules," Paula said, voice even. "We're recording. No interruptions. Ms. Hart will speak for herself." She slid a packet to their side. "This is the cease and desist from Hobbs and Vale, the installer cancellation, the deputy's incident number, and Dr. Price's letter documenting full capacity." The word full landed like a gavel. Connor's jaw flexed. Brianna kept her eyes on the papers, careful, calculating. I folded my hands so I wouldn't fidget. "You put a sign in my yard," I began, and heard how quiet my voice was, how steady. "You scheduled strangers to empty my cabinets. You told a broker you had guardian authority. Then you filed to take my choices away." A tremor skated through my fingers. I flattened them against the table's cold edge, welcomed the bite. "Why?" Brianna spoke first. That soft crispness she uses when she wants to be the most reasonable person in any room. "Evelyn, you were hospitalized. You live alone. The stairs are unsafe. Finances are complicated. We only meant to protect you." Protect. Such a generous word for a cage. Paula tapped one page. "This email claims an authority you do not have," she said. "There is no order, no power of attorney. This signature," she turned the printout so the wide, wobbling scrawl faced them, "is not Ms. Hart's. You need to withdraw the petition." Silence gathered, brittle and bright. Lydia's pen made the smallest scratch, a reminder that ink can be a form of courage, too. Connor finally looked at me, not the file. For a heartbeat, I saw my boy at 8, cheeks pink from soccer, asking if we could get pizza even though the mortgage was overdue. Love tugged at my chest, hot and disloyal to everything my fear had learned. "Mom," he said low, "we were scared. After Dad died, you shouldered everything. You don't have to keep doing that." He swallowed. "Numbers get missed. You forgot my birthday last year." I felt the sting before I remembered the date, how I had spent it in a warehouse, coaxing a jammed pallet jack through a narrow mouth of shelves because the night crew called out and a delivery had to go at dawn. I had texted him the next morning. He had sent a thumbs up. We both had our versions of that day. It didn't make this petition less of a grab. "I will always be your mother," I said, and my throat tightened around the always. "But I am not your ward." I slid a different packet across the table, Paula's trust drafts, warm from the printer. "I have updated my estate plan. Effective now, a revocable trust holds my home and accounts. A professional trustee stands between me and any emergency. I am safe without surrendering my name." Brianna's eyes flicked up, the smallest tell, a quick flash of something like alarm followed by the smooth mask of concern. She heard the subtext, even if I had not spoken the figure that haunted this room. Good. Paula leaned forward, palms open. "Here's a simple path," she said. "Withdraw the petition by 5 o'clock today. Send a written retraction to the brokerage. Confirm no further vendors will be sent. We keep this in this room. If you refuse, we proceed Monday with exhibits showing misrepresentation and attempted conversion, and we will request sanctions." Lydia's pen stopped. The recorder hummed. Brianna moved first. "We need time to consider," she said. Connor stared at the table's seam as if it could split into a different life. I could hear his breath. I could also hear my own heart, measured and present. "You have until 5, I said. "Then I assume you mean to fight." They left with stiff thank yous, and the door closed with a soft hydraulic sigh. The room exhaled. I did too, and the ache in my ribs flared and settled like a warning flare going out. Paula placed a signature flag on the trust binder, bright as a petal against the crisp paper. "Sign when you're ready," she said. I picked up the pen, felt its weight, and signed my name in the same hand that had signed paychecks through winter storms and summer blackouts. The letters looked steady. Mine. After, I walked with Lydia to the elevator, the carpet swallowing our steps. Somewhere below, a mail cart squeaked. In my pocket, my phone buzzed once, then again. Not yet. I let it shake and go quiet. Courage can look like waiting. It can also look like a mother refusing to let love be used as a lever to pry her life apart. The hours between noon and 5 stretched like cooled taffy. I needed to move, so Paula and I drove to the county building to record the deed into the trust. The lobbies smelled like old paper and lemon cleaner. A copier clicked with the calm rhythm of a metronome. When the clerk slid the stamped page back across the counter, the red seal still wet, it made a dull, satisfying thump that traveled up my arms. "Mine," the sound said. "Still mine." We went next to the bank, where the carpet swallowed noise and pens were tethered by small silver chains that flashed under fluorescent lights. I sat with the trust officer while Paula guided the transfers, her voice low and precise, and felt that odd mix of shame and strength that comes when you protect yourself from your own child. The pen scratched my name onto beneficiary forms. My ribs protested each shift. A steady reminder that this fight had started with breath and a beeping monitor, and a promise to myself that I would not be managed out of my life. By 3, Lydia texted a screenshot of the neighborhood thread. A post by Concerned Daughter-in-Law described a decline, a confusing home sale, unsafe stairs, and a plea for compassion as we transition her to our care. My hand went cold. She had made me an object with a label. In the market later, picking up broth and ginger because my body still wanted simple things, I felt the eyes of 2 women from the book club slide over me, soft and pitying. One touched my arm, gentle as tissue. "If you need help moving, honey, our husbands can come this weekend." I could taste metal at the back of my tongue. "I am not moving," I said, and my voice must have carried because 3 heads turned near the oranges. Public again. The cost of defending yourself is often looking like the one who started the trouble. At 4:30, the doorbell rang. A man in a contractor jacket stood on my step, a gray lockbox like a small anchor in his hand. Behind him, the van's engine coughed. "Here for install," he said, already leaning in. The tape on my notices had begun to curl at the corners. I smoothed it with my palm. "Read," I said. He blinked, shrugged the way men shrug when they have a job and do not care about the room it lands in, and lifted his phone. "Work order says cleared by family." I called the non-emergency line. Lydia appeared at my side, as if conjured. "Phone up." 10 minutes later, the cruiser eased to the curb, and the deputy from before stepped out, his breath ghosting in the cold. "We talked about this," he told the installer. The lockbox went back into the van. Curtains lifted up and down the street like seabirds. 5 o'clock came without a withdrawal. At 5:05, a message from Brianna. "We can't pull it now. The judge should decide. Please don't be upset." The words walked straight into my chest and set up camp. My first instinct was to call Connor and ask him if this was truly what he wanted, if he understood what shadows looked like when cast by love. Instead, I set the phone down and ran water for tea, breathing in the steam until the kitchen windows fogged. Self-control is a practice. It tastes like chamomile and stubbornness. Paula called at 5:15. "We proceed," she said. I have affidavits from the notary and the installer. The brokerage logs are preserved. Dr. Price will testify. Her voice softened. Evelyn, I need you to consider how much to reveal on Monday. Secrets can rot or they can anchor. Which do you need this one to be? I stared at the cooled red seal on the deed and felt that banked coal in my chest glow. If they are telling the court I am at financial risk, I said, then I will show the court I am the risk's end. My reflection in the dark window looked older than I remembered, and stronger. The house creaked around me, those honest winter sounds that say we are still here. I put the tea down and wrote my own short statement for the hearing. Plain facts, anchored dates, no apologies. When I finished, my hand had stopped shaking. Sunday dawned thin and colorless, the kind of light that makes dust look like weather. I taped fresh copies of Paula's letter and Dr. Price's note to the glass and brewed tea that tasted like warm metal. At 10 past 10, a couple in puffer coats stepped onto my porch, cheeks pink from the cold, eyes bright with that hopeful look people get when they think a new life might fit inside new walls. We saw a coming soon. The woman began, already craning past me toward the staircase Brianna had called a hazard. I felt the ache in my ribs and the old tug in my heart, the part of me that wants to be polite even while I am being erased. There is no showing, I said, keeping my tone steady. Lydia appeared beside me like a lighthouse with a camera. Please email any messages you receive to this address, she added, holding up a card with Paula's office printed crisp and unforgiving. The couple apologized, flustered, and retreated down the walk. The man glanced back once, as if to say he understood without knowing why. After they left, the quiet rang. I wiped a circle of condensation from the window and watched the street breathe. Dog walkers, a jogger, a delivery van that idled too long. My phone buzzed with the book club thread, where two women danced around my name like it might break. I closed the app and opened my photos instead. Connor at 8 with a gap-toothed grin and a paper crown. Connor at 12, muddy and alive, hoisting a trophy we could not afford but somehow made room for. Grief pressed a thumb into the soft part of my chest. I wrote him a message that said only, "Are you sure?" I did not send it. Some questions are nets. Once you throw them, they catch whatever swims by, not just what you meant to catch. At noon, Paula ran me through testimony by phone. Her voice was low, metronomic. Answer only the question. Anchor every statement to a date, a document, or a witness. Do not decorate the truth. When we finished, my blouse clung between my shoulders with that damp, nervous heat. I stood at the sink and practiced 3 sentences to the blank kitchen window. I make my own medical decisions. I manage my own finances. I did not authorize any listing. Saying them out loud put stones in my pockets. Good, heavy ones. Around 3, Dr. Price stopped by on her way home, snow dusting her shoulders like powdered sugar. She checked my vitals, looked me straight in the eyes, and squeezed my hand once. No speech about courage, just presence. It steadied me more than anything else that day. When she left, Lydia ladled soup into a mug and bossed me onto the couch. The house smelled like thyme and old wood. The radiator hissed like a cat with opinions. "If they come again," she said, pointing her spoon at the door, "you stay seated and you call it in." I nodded. My body needed stillness to be brave. At dusk, a car rolled up quiet and idled, headlights washing the living room in a pale, trembling glow. I did not move. A shadow crossed the porch camera, a hesitation I could feel in my bones. And then the slot clacked, and an envelope slid onto the rug. Lydia reached it first and set it on the table like it might detonate. Inside was a photocopy of the petition cover sheet and a post-it in Connor's handwriting. Let the court sort it. It's cleaner. Cleaner. The word tasted like bleach up my nose. My throat burned. For a long minute, I listened to the engine idle, willing the doorbell to ring, willing my child to choose conversation over paperwork. The engine cut. The street went back to its winter breathing. I realized my hands had stopped shaking. In the quiet, I opened my notebook and wrote a single line for tomorrow, just to see if I could bear it. I sold my company for $10 million to protect my future, and I did it while fully competent. The sentence looked too large on the page. It also looked true. I closed the cover and set it by the door with my coat. Tomorrow, I would carry it with me like identification. The courthouse smelled like wax and old air, the kind that sits in stairwells and remembers every argument it has ever held. Lydia walked at my side, a small force field of practical kindness, while Paula carried the accordion file against her chest like a shield. In the courtroom, the benches were polished and unfriendly. A bailiff announced the judge, and the room rose as one wooden animal. My ribs pulsed beneath my coat. The fabric rasped when I breathed. Connor sat at the petitioner's table, shoulders squared the way men sit when they are sure they are doing the brave thing. Brianna's mouth was set in a line so fine it looked drawn on. Their attorney, a smooth man with a navy tie, lifted a hand in greeting that felt like a rehearsed apology. Behind us, two neighbors slid into the gallery, whispering into their scarves. Public, again. Consequences with eyes. Petitioners went first. The attorney's voice had the calm, concerned cadence of a bedtime story. He spoke of a sudden hospitalization, of stairs, of pills lined up like soldiers, of a confusing home sale, and financial vulnerability. He held up phone photos of my wristband and my staircase and the coming soon sign, like they were proof of prophecy. He called Brianna, who dabbed at a dry eye and described my forgetfulness. The time I skipped dessert club and texted the next morning. Not a crime, but in here even ordinary human life can be made to look like a loose thread. Paula rose and unrolled the facts. Her voice was steady, almost quiet, the kind of quiet that makes a room lean forward. She handed up Dr. Price's letter, the deputy's incident report, the brokerage withdrawal, the work orders with my lawn printed across the top like a fingerprint, the notary's affidavit declining to notarize because I did not appear willing. Each page made a soft slither on the judge's bench. The judge read with a fingertip, humming once, not unkind. Then my name was called. The oath tasted like copper on my tongue. I sat, hands flat, and felt the grain of the witness chair through my palm, cool and slick. Paula kept questions simple, anchored. Did I authorize a listing? I did not. Did I understand my medications? I did. Did I live alone by choice? I did. When I spoke, my own voice sounded like a road after snow, cleared, edged, navigable if you kept your hands steady. Describe your finances, Paula said. The hinge. I thought of the envelope in my bag, my short statement written in plain ink. Secrets can rot, or they can anchor. I opened my mouth and let the truth be the heavier thing. I sold my company, I said, and the word sold rolled through the room like a small storm. For $10 million. I did so with counsel, while competent. The funds are held in a revocable trust with a professional trustee. My home is titled to the trust. My bills are current. A ripple moved through the gallery. Brianna's chin lifted a fraction, then dropped. Connor's color rose, and then fell, like the tide reconsidering. The judge raised a hand for quiet. Thank you, Ms. Hart, she said, not unkind. Petitioners cross-examined. The navy tie tried to turn the secret into a symptom. Why not tell family? If you were fine, why hide it? I met his questions with the dull shine of repetition. Privacy is not confusion. Protection is not isolation. I wanted peace without price tags. My hands were steady on the rail, even when my chest tightened at the word family. Dr. Price testified with her clean, clinical honesty, speaking of orientation and recall and executive function. The deputy followed, describing the porch, the notices, the installer with the anchor of a lockbox. The judge's mouth made a thoughtful line. She asked two questions of her own, soft and exact. Who sent the vendor texts, and who used my name on an electronic signature? Paula pointed to the audit trail. The room went very still. I am taking the petition under submission, the judge said at last, voice even. In the meantime, no person is to enter Ms. Hart's home or contact vendors on her behalf. Any interim management of assets is enjoined. Counsel will be heard on sanctions if necessary. The gavel was a small sound that felt like a hard stop inside my ribs. We stood. The benches breathed. In the corridor, the air tasted like dust and victory and grief all at once. I wanted to cry and sleep and run. Instead, I walked, spine tall, the way you walk when you have named your own life out loud. The order arrived near dusk, the envelope thin as a blade. I stood in the lamplight with Lydia and Paula on speaker, the paper cool against my fingers, and read every line until the words settled into bone. Petition denied. No guardianship. Continued injunction against vendor contact. Order to show cause on sanctions in 2 weeks. Audit trail to be produced within 3 days. Relief came like warm air after a long tunnel, silent at first, then everywhere. I sat down because my knees could not be trusted yet, and I let the house make its old winter sounds around me, the wood ticking, the radiator hissing, the kitchen clock shouldering another minute without applause. The audit trail landed the next morning with the force of a confession. Emails from Brianna's work account to a short list of buyers. Exclusive pre-market opportunity, elder owner, family transitioning care, and the e-signature records tracing back to her laptop's address with a note from Connor's number authorizing temporary management. It was all there, time-stamped and tidy. Seeing my name dragged through their language, I felt heat behind my eyes, and then a hard, cooling clarity. Love can explain behavior. It does not excuse it. Paula breathed out on the phone, not quite a laugh, not quite a curse. We have what we need, she said. I'll prepare the sanctions brief and a referral to the state if the court wants it. You don't need to attend the hearing, but I think you should. I closed my eyes and pictured the courtroom's varnished benches, the small gravity of the gavel. I will, I said, and the decision fit. I wrote a short note to the neighborhood list, hands steady over the keys. Court denied a petition concerning my capacity. No showings were authorized. Thank you for respecting my home. No accusations, no names, just a hinge back toward ordinary. Replies began to stack. Quiet apologies. Cautious congratulations. One offer of soup. When I stepped outside later to bring in the trash bin, 2 of the book club women lifted their hands, a little sheepish, and one said, "We're glad you're okay." The before and after in their faces was a thing you could touch. By afternoon, Connor texted, "Can we talk alone?" The words made a small ache ripple under my ribs. I stood at the sink, palms damp, remembering his feet thumping down this same hall when he was little, the sound that used to mean joy galloping home. I typed back, at Paula's office, with a witness, tomorrow at 2. A pause, then his reply, "Okay, just that. No hearts, no conditions." My scalp tingled with fear and hope, those old feuding cousins. At twilight, a soft knock came. Lydia peered through the sidelight and nodded. Dr. Price, with a paper bag, and a look that said she had seen too much of people to be shocked anymore. She set ginger and broth on the counter, checked my vitals without ceremony, and looked me in the eyes. "Eat," she said. "Sleep." I smiled. The small, tired lift that belongs to women who know the work is not done just because a piece of paper says so. After she left, I stood alone in the kitchen, breathing in steam. My hands were still. My voice, when I practiced tomorrow's words, did not shake. I drafted what I would say to Connor, that I loved him, that I would not let him or anyone else manage me by force or by pity, that money had not bought me silence, and never would. I folded the page twice and slid it into my bag with the court order. The house settled around me, not a fortress, not a museum, just a place I had built and would keep. Outside, the street held its winter breath. Inside, I felt the old part of me. Polite, accommodating, step back and make room for the woman who had run trucks through blizzards and signed her name in a quiet room while men said it was for her own good. Tomorrow, we would see which version of my son walked through that door. Tomorrow, I would be only one version of myself. Sanctions Day felt colder than the air could explain. The judge listened without hurry, eyes steady on the paper trail, emails, timestamps, the installer's affidavit, the notary's line about willingness. When she ruled, the words were clean as glass. Monetary sanctions payable to me for fees and costs, a written retraction to the brokerage and vendors, and a referral of the forged authorization to the county for review. She looked at Connor and Brianna and said quietly, "Protecting someone begins with the truth." The gavel's small knock sounded like a door closing that needed to be closed. Outside, Paula's hand touched my shoulder, and I realized my jaw had unclenched. The brokerage posted a correction that afternoon. The last ghost listing disappeared from search by evening. On my block, greetings shifted from pity to respect, that before and after you can feel in the temperature of a hello. The next day, Connor came to Paula's office alone. He looked older and somehow young at the same time. "I am sorry," he said, voice rough. "I let fear make me mean." The apology landed, imperfect and real. I loved my son. I also loved the woman who had learned to stand still while a room tried to move her. So I drew the lines. No keys, no vendors, no decisions about my life made in my name. Contact by appointment, in writing, until trust is rebuilt. I told him my plan to keep the professional trustee and that my estate would remain conditional, doors not locked but not swinging. He nodded, eyes wet. "Tell me what repair looks like," he said. "Time," I answered. "And truth." That night, my house breathed its old winter music, wood ticking, heat hissing, tea curling steam into the lamplight. I opened the file with the company sale, and for the first time, it felt like relief and not a secret. I had kept the roof, the name on the deed, the right to choose. More than that, I had kept myself. The quiet in that room wasn't emptiness. It was ownership,